Good day, everyone, and thanks for joining us here in the charts. You tuned into the Market Beast edition. Fellow compadre speaking. Today we'll be exploring a request, ticker symbol RIDE, Lordstown Motors Corp. I've actually found two lines that I want to show you all. So yeah, if you're just joining us or just stopping in, welcome. We'd love for you to actually join us and hit the subscribe button. So consider that as we go along in the content. Loyal subscribers, welcome back. Let's go ahead and dive right into this. And let me just kind of explain to you where I see the markets going here in the short term, shall we? All right. So today is March the 16th, 2021, and the current price of RIDE is going to be $15.51. It's down approximately 4.3% for the day. Markets are open, by the way. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, here's what I've discovered on this beautiful story behind the price action. That's it, just two lines. What you're looking at is a buyer's obligation level, which is the green line represented here at about $14.71, okay? And the overhead level where the sellers continue to step into this market is going to be at like $29.43. Now, one of the things that I'm noticing about this stock is it's right near a potential buy-in level. This video doesn't have a bullish nor a bearish tone on it, okay? But what I will say is for the long-term investors is it's right near a potential support level. So at any moment, if I were to invest in this stock, which I am not, again, this is just a request that we're taking care of, I would be enticed to enter the market near or just above this level, and actually just right here, right now. But the one thing that makes me raise an eyebrow on this stock is I've seen this setup before, and it doesn't really end well if you have weak hands. What does that mean? Well, if the market actually gets below $14.71, I'm actually kind of nervous to put out my bearish target on this stock. So we're not even going to go there just yet. But one of the things that I want to close out and let you all know is that, remember, what I focus on is the story behind price action. And I bring that up because since I've identified this green line and I've also identified this red line, the only thing that I do is pay attention to how much time does it take for the market to kind of thrust to the upside. And as a result of going to the upside where the sellers are kind of hanging out, right, ready to hit the price down, I measure how much time it takes for the price to get back down to the buyer's obligation level, okay? So what I'm going to do is just kind of, let's see if we can just kind of close this out. And what I'm going to do is measure this area here, like this impulse leg to the downside. Maybe I could pull up a higher time frame so you can see it a little bit better. This way, I guess I could kind of make the case, right? Okay, this is kind of perfect right here. So these are just kind of weird 4-week candles just to kind of explain what I'm looking at and why I say that it might be a little concerning. Let's see if we can crank it down just one more, like 2-week candles. All right, cool. Yeah, this is perfect. All right, so these are 2-week candles to kind of illustrate what I want to explain about why the sellers may have more control in this market. And I'm actually saying, look, I'm just kind of noticing something like this. That looks like a pretty well-defined head and shoulders pattern. That is not good. Wow, yeah, if the price cannot get back above this level right here, let's just see if I can do something like this. If it can't get back above $20, I'm not sure how long. Let's just call it like 60 days. Yeah, this market might be under some real pressure. It definitely needs to get it back above $20, and it must stay above $14.71. Otherwise, this market is pretty aggressive momentum to the downside. I'm not sure if you guys caught that. For those of you who are new to technical analysis, this is going to be considered a head and shoulders pattern where you have the left shoulder right here, and then you have the head right here. And then you have the right shoulder right here. There's a few other things that you must take into consideration according to the Encyclopedia of Patterns that I follow, not religiously, but I follow it closely here. But this would be considered a head and shoulders pattern. I'm not sure if you actually can see that. Okay, so that's the head and shoulders pattern that could potentially be playing out right now. So just understand that if you see the markets under pressure, that's basically what's going on. The head and shoulders pattern is trying to play out, right? The sellers have formed this pattern and they want to go ahead and continue with their obligation and push this price to the downside. I guess if we can go ahead and get a really quick measurement on where the price would go down to if this were a head and shoulders pattern. Again, I actually just found this just kind of making the video. I didn't even notice that. So this is probably going to send the price to zero. If we, from a technical standpoint, I'm not saying this price is going to zero. Actually, no, it's not zero. It's $6. Oof. That's the technical target right there, $6 and a penny. If this head and shoulders were to actually continue to flush out and meet its technical target, which again, it doesn't always meet its technical target. So this isn't a video to, you know, cause any panic or anything in the market. Again, if you're panicking or you get nervous, that means you're overexposed. Just go ahead and I can't advise you to do anything, but that's just not smart. That's not what I would do if I were participating in markets, just kind of overexposing myself in these assets. Okay. So let me just go ahead and let you guys know why it appears that the sellers have more of an advantage in this market. And we'll go ahead and close this video out here. So remember, we're paying attention to the time. Let me see if I can just kind of box this area off to make more sense of it. So the area that I just boxed off is going to represent the sellers entering the market, okay, after the price goes up to this red line, okay? Let me just see if I could just kind of make this really simple and close it out, okay? So notice the range. We've already gone over this green line here, the buyer's obligation. The buyer's obligation is just to, I say this on every video, but I want to kind of beat this in everyone's brain. So one day people are gonna be like, wait a minute, Napoleon's always been telling me this. It's so right. It doesn't have anything to do with the news or anything else. It's just buyers and sellers. So notice how the buyers, they broke above this green line at 1471, right? Boom, they broke above that line and they met that red line where the sellers are. So what we're going to do is measure the time. How much time? These are 2 weekly candles, 2 week candles, right? And you see how it came up to that red line, it got rejected, and then it went all the way down to the green line, and it took this amount of time right here. It measures 42 days. Okay, I've just measured this. Let me just want to circle it so we're all on the same page. This area, this impulse leg to the downside, represents the seller stepping into the market. It took 42 days to go from the red line overhead right here, this red line overhead, to drop the price all the way down to the green line. It took 42 days, okay? I'm bringing that up to your attention because this area in the middle, it's kind of, we're not going to measure this because it's not really, it's the buyers trying to continue the momentum, but they're having trouble. The buyer's obligation, after they break above this green line here, right? When the buyers break above this green line, they get rejected from that red line and they come back down to gather more momentum at the buyer's obligation level. Their obligation is to break above the red line and continue up. But since the area right in the middle is unmeasurable, I'm going to say it's unmeasurable in terms of the time frame on how long the sellers are taking to push the price down. Because if you notice this wick here, right here, on this wick here on November the 23rd, 2020, it never did come back down to the green line to kind of rejuvenate or kind of build up the necessary momentum to re-challenge the overhead red line in order to break through. So this would be probably not the wise decision from the buyers to just kind of hang out in this area and then re-challenge this red line with the anticipation of breaking through, and then it fails. That's not a good sign, because that brings us over to this white area right here. Notice it only took two week candles to push the price from this line up here all the way down to the green line. That means it took less time. We can actually, and I know some of the critics are probably saying, no, wait, dude, you got to measure that green candle. Okay, you're right. So even if we measure this green candle right here, okay, February this 1st, 2021, that's still less time that it took for it to reach this green line down here, right down here, in comparison to this area that we've already measured here, 42 days. So let's go ahead and measure how much time that it took for the sellers to push the price down from this red line all the way down to the green line. And if it takes less time than the first example that we showed, then it means that the sellers have more strength into this market. Hopefully that makes sense. The 42 days in this range here, and then if it takes less time in this example here, that means the sellers have more strength. So let me just go ahead and measure how much time it took for the sellers to top out on this candle right here. And then we're just going to measure this red candle right over here, March the 1st, 2021. And I think it's pretty obvious because it's less candles. It took less time. It took 28 days. So that's less time, guys. So that means that the sellers, they may have more of an advantage in this market. Okay, again, this isn't like a bearish video to get you guys nervous, okay? But you definitely need to understand that the sellers took less time to push this price down, which means they do have strength in this market. You have the levels, $20 it must get back above within 60 days. I've already shown you the inverted head and shoulders, potential inverted head and shoulders that has successfully played out in this market. If the price does not get back above $20, then it will be a successful head and shoulders formation pattern, and the sellers are trying to follow through with their obligation and meet that lower target that we've already discussed. Within 60 days, maybe a little bit longer, yeah. I don't really like for it to take longer, because the longer it takes, the sellers are like, no, the buyers don't have strength. They're just going to follow through. Okay. $20 is the level. Buyers, you got to get back above that level. And you must protect 1471 with your life, because if the sellers get below that, no, it's not going to be pretty to the downside. Okay. But this video has a neutral tone. The buyers, it's near a support line. If I were to take a risk in this market, it would be right near this line and have some sort of stop loss method just below this line. I don't know, like 10%. You have to determine that, how much you're going to risk in this market if the market goes against you below 1471. Okay. So hopefully this was enough useful information for you all to gather to make a conscious decision in these markets. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't advise you to do anything, but that's pretty much all I have for you wonderful folks in this video. And again, hopefully this was useful, and thank you for the request. So leave an appropriate thumb in a comment just to support the channel before you go there. Also, if you're new, before you go, we cover the alternative markets if you're into Bitcoin and altcoins. So we'd love for you to join us here on this interesting journey as we make these interesting calls in the market. So take care of yourselves, protect your portfolios, execute your strategies. We're going to talk soon. Bye for now.